All right.
Nelson.
Optic 1. What's up, man?
What's up? I'm excited.
Thank you for being on the Amerikin Podcast. I appreciate you. I've known you for a long time, and I was very excited to have a platform for you to talk about all the things I've looked up to you for. You have lots of layers to yourself. You were a skateboarder, you were a graffiti artist, you were an artist in general, you were a photographer, you were all so many different things at some point. And, with Amerikin, the brand that we're doing now, I know going through all those things, you've probably been through some kind of diversity, whether it's your age, being Filipino, something, whether it's because you got glasses, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's
the glasses. It's always been the glasses.
Dang, that diversity of glasses, that's a tough gig. Right?
It's like being left-handed.
Oh, yeah, that's a struggle. I tell you, those people that made those binders, they hate left-handers. That diversity. Right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, no, definitely. You've grown up in San Diego for the most part, most of your life, right?
Yes, correct.
And, as a kid, was there any ever a time where diversity, again, whether it's your race or age or religious background, kind of affect you at all?
In San Diego, it was interesting through junior high. It was awareness of ethnicities.
Yeah. Because where did you go to school? Because we are in San Diego, if you don't know, San Diego, California.
Paradise Hills, Bell Junior High.
Okay, yeah. Tell us about what the experience was like at Bell Junior High for all you guys at Bell.
Well, this was like in the late 80s, so it's a little different times.
Okay, sure.
It's probably different now. There was a lot of Filipinos there.
Okay.
But I stood out and didn't click with them.
Is that right? Yeah, I would imagine there's always like that cliquey stuff.
They considered me whitewashed because I wasn't
your typical
Filipino.
Filipino.
I had nowadays everyone has colored hair, but back then everyone was using 3 flowers to grease it, but I was just like this punker.
Right.
Skater punker.
So even being a punker, you felt that diversity, being a punker in a place where your kind of race was.
Correct.
That's crazy to think.
Yeah. It was, to me it was nothing, but seeing it from their eyes, it was interesting. I didn't hate them or look down upon. I was like, okay, I see how they are now. Now I could be better than that.
Sure.
Not like, I'm punk rock and, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss, but
you
forget those guys, you know what I mean?
Yeah, do what you gotta do.
It was just like, okay, whatever. I see how they are, that's them. They're going to live their life growing gray hair. I'm just going to be me,
Yeah, no, again, I've known you for such a long time. I've seen you through the diversity, whether it's when we were dancing as kids. I remember you would get the second look, like, that guy looks different.
Remember when I got in? I had purple hair, and they're like, that guy?
Right? You had pants that were up here, like
thermals. Yeah. Army pants that were shorts, and I wore thermals under them.
Yeah.
So they're just like, this guy breaks.
Right. Yeah, no, and then you show them. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Speaking of your dance there, you've been dancing for how long now?
I don't know. There's so many levels.
Sure. Are you pretty active now?
Not as active. I still dance.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a different.
Just different time of your life.
Different time. Like when I started Rock So Fresh, it was like, I'm gonna do this. It was a movement.
That's right. So you started Rock So Fresh. And if you guys don't know, Rock So Fresh is a very respected b-boy crew in San Diego, and they've been out for 15, 20 years now?
Since 2001.
Okay. Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
So starting that crew, what did you have in mind when you started it?
It was definitely to keep the artistic side, not non-competitive, and it's competitive dance, but more focused on rhythm, having soul, being funky, and just to keep artistic as a dancer, not so much a hip hop b-boy crew, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think when we were growing up, they had those crews that were all identically, like they were almost all the same.
Correct.
You know what I mean? There was no diversity in in their crew.
Well,
It's kind of crazy.
They were following a certain path, where we were just, they were following like the trend, the fad. And we were just like, we're just gonna do this.
Right.
This is what we like to do.
To try to be different, not even try to be different. Do different because that's what we were. So it was awesome. It was awesome to grow up with someone like you, because you were different. I knew I could be different if I wanted to. You know what I mean? I could have colored hair. I had red hair when I went to prom. So I mean, it was cool, really cool to grow up with someone like you. You know what I mean? With you, your brother Saul. I mean, you guys were always different in the way that wasn't weird. Like, you were able to embrace who you were, and I really respect you for that.
All right, we appreciate that. We're just artist breed, And
Yeah.
I'm glad we can. I don't know. It's interesting. Like, we just do what we believe in.
Sure.
I think because being my dad was in the military, I think that kind of helped. Just accepting whatever. Not trying to be diverse. We didn't even know what that word was when we were kids. We just accepted.
Sure.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And just adapted to it. We just learned to adapt.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you come from pretty big family. How many siblings did you have? There's 5 of you guys? 4? 4 of you guys?
Yeah,
okay.
4.
Yeah, all different age ranges and with the dad in the military and all. It probably made you travel a little bit. What other places did the military take you?
Nowhere.
Nowhere. You're a military family. You didn't go anywhere. Your dad was lucky enough to stay in San Diego.
That's true.
How awesome! I was only in for 4 years, and I was in a bunch of different places. Mm-hmm. So, for your dad to never go anywhere, he was a lucky man.
Absolutely. But we met a lot of his friends that were from everywhere.
Yeah.
So that kind of helped us.
Sure. Well, so you're not necessarily first generation Filipino, right?
I really don't understand it, all those.
Yeah, I'm going to say first generation is firstborn here, because your dad, I would believe, he was firstborn here, so he would have been first generation.
Okay, that
makes
sense.
So I would think maybe in the time that you were growing up, most of the people that you grew up with and went to school with were first generation, and you were second generation. So at that point, maybe you were American, or maybe some people call it whitewashed, and I know you've used that already. But in my head, it's just American, and maybe people are just getting used to it.
Maybe. I mean, I heard first gen try to be Americanized so we could fit in.
Sure.
And be prideful of being part of something per se. Like, yeah. We're from the Filipino from the Philippines, but we could also be American too.
Right.
And that was never my concern. It was like I always loved culture, subconsciously. I always loved culture, so I didn't care who you were, where you're from. I just wanted to.
That's awesome.
Understand you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I mean, I think as a kid, I think there were times when. Maybe I wasn't American enough. Maybe with the Filipino groups, maybe I wasn't Filipino enough. But all I knew was to be American. You know what I mean? Like the culture, like I'm eating rice, I'm eating adobo, and I'm eating a hamburger for my next meal. You know what I mean? That's what I know to be American. And I think we've kind of like grew up in the same way, right? Like we appreciated our culture, our background, but then we appreciated eating Mexican food. We appreciated eating Italian food. Yes. Burgers all day, you know what I mean? But Mexican food, I tell you, we got down with some Mexican food.
I think we just love food.
Yeah, true that. And that's telling now. We were so skinny. We were so skinny way back when. I would tell you, this big boy was nice and lean.
We were also dancing right after school. 4 in the afternoon to 4 in the morning.
Oh, true that. We were dancing all night. That was life. Dance was life. And it's so cool to see it still happening now. So when you go to events now, can you appreciate it the same way you did 20 years ago?
Yes. I'll say yes.
What was the long pause all about?
I was trying to remember how my school of thought was back then.
Right. Because it's different from today.
Yeah, I dance as an outlet now, opposed to I'm gonna create a movement, I'm gonna teach. Now it's really solely for me, where I want to create.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So you're creating for the art when at this point you probably see people that dance to perform typically.
Correct.
Yeah. So I remember that. Like a lot of the freestyle wasn't necessarily freestyle. It was uh, it was rehearsed dance movements that they were just practicing.
They're doing it as a showcase.
Right.
Opposed to just doing it like expressing themselves.
Sure.
That's kind of hard to explain, but you can understand that because they're all expressing for themselves.
Sure.
But I think ultimately they were possibly just showcasing.
Got it. Showcasing would be a great description. I tell you, thinking back in the days, we used to dance all day. I know you still do and kind of in the scene still. But I do remember what was so great about it was the diversity. So I hate to go back to diversity all the time.
Bring that back,
but
sure.
Yeah, it was everything. I mean, we were from a crew called Play School Society, and we had every kind of ethnic background there was. And so with that being said, we lived. It's almost like we lived everyone's culture in that crew. It was so cool. We ate each other's food. You know what I mean? Like it was cool.
We helped each other. They brought something in that brought us to an awareness. Like, oh, that was cool.
yeah. Something maybe we wouldn't have eaten or heard or exposed ourselves to. Mm-hmm. So that was really cool. In the past on the podcast, we've heard about like brotherhoods. Like I felt like that crew back then was a brotherhood of people just getting together, creating things and making things happen. We had each other's back. It was super cool.
I think that was our backbone that carried on from Play School, and then I carried it on in Rock So Fresh.
That's awesome.
That's really what it was. What captured the essence. It was the brotherhood of because we all had our diversity and individual experiences, but to bring that to the crew, it just kind of made it more accepting and made it a stronger foundation.
That's cool, and look how strong that's gone. It's gone, 19 years, 18 years, and you guys been all around the world. You've done lots of things. Is there anything that stands out as far as that Rock So Fresh time and your experiences would be like the highlight of that time frame?
I think to answer that, it's interesting because I traveled and see dancers like recently, or not recently, one event I knew when I would move to Arizona, and I saw a mother there and a daughter, and the mother was a teacher, and she had a sheet of a quiz of who's the grandfather of hip hop, name one popping move, one dance move, and the daughter was like, oh, this is a fishtail. Uh-huh. And I'm thinking, I wonder where she learned that from, because the move wasn't solely mine, but for teaching reasons, I put that term into a move.
Right.
And it wasn't like it was never done before I created it, but I put it together where this is what.
So just it's a reference.
As a reference to learn, I call it a fishtail. And then this girl way over in Arizona that actually the mom moved there to teach, which was actually from Utah.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, that was interesting. Not so much a pat on the back, but it was it's interesting how culture can move in that sense. And she's teaching history, but not necessarily know where that came from.
Right. That dance culture is really strong. It's really strong. I mean, whether you're a b-boy, you're doing hip hop choreo, you're doing. It sounds like worldwide. It could flow.
Absolutely.
And so hearing a story like that. Something that you did and referenced, and it going through all the United States and coming back to you, and you hearing it, that's got to be pretty.
And
cool.
not knowing who she was talking to,
Oh right.
I was humble enough. I didn't say, oh, that's I was just kind of I just stopped and thought, I'm like, wow, that's kind of intense. That's cool.
It's almost like when you created a word, if you created awesome and everyone started using awesome, kind of in that sense, right?
Yeah.
Whoa, I started that, but I can't prove it, but I did.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
It's cool, yeah.
And it's like even a dance move. I remember a certain move I would do, and I'd go, oh yeah, I couldn't necessarily claim it as my own, but I would just do it and go, oh, that was kind of cool that I did a hopping 90 or something like that.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And then start seeing that later. Again, same thing. I probably didn't invent it, but I sure didn't see it.
Correct.
So at that point, that was my invention.
There you go.
So cool, man. So you're back in San Diego. What are you up to these days?
Create a lot.
A lot.
A lot.
Are you in the arts still?
I'm that artist breed. You know, if it's not doing visual art, audio, whether it's making music, whether it's physical art, dancing or skating,
You've always
creative writing. I always have to have some outlet to push, keep me alive.
Sure. I know some of us still meet up, like at some of the art meetups, some of the what is that?
Art night.
Yeah.
Storytellers.
Yeah, Storytellers is awesome. It's cool. After so many years, we could all still get together and pick up a conversation like we didn't miss a beat.
It was great.
That's awesome.
If for those that's listening, what it was is we had our circle of friends that were all artists, but in different mediums. We had a Bookham who does movies now, by the way. But
I heard. That's awesome.
He works for a company that renders 3D. And then we have Storm, of course, the storyteller king right there.
Storyteller king. We want him to come out on Amerikin Podcast, but he might be scared. So this is your call out. Storm.
Maine the DJ, Saki the graffiti artist. My brother Saul, he was an artist. Doing comics. So we had a lot of different mediums in art. So we came together and just kind of like helped each other and molded like this art community and help each other grow. So it was cool seeing the diversity within just the medium of art, being artists.
Right. So anything that could bring you all together, that's diversity. That's cool. So no matter what you are, who you are, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And again, I love being able to still meet up and see you guys. I'm not the artist as you all were, but I love just being that part of everyone. I love supporting all you artists out there.
Oh, yeah. I think ultimately, like, for me, it helped me find who I am and where I am, where I was, where I am, and where I'm going. So I've learned how to pull from everything to really understand, I'm just going to say, lack of words, like style.
Right.
A lifestyle or art style, whatever, and be able, now that I have that foundation, be able to grow from that and just be me and not follow anything, or just be able to express my part, pulling from everything that I've experienced.
That's what makes you you. That's awesome. Well, again, thank you for being on the Amerikin Podcast, where diversity is our culture. I know you got a lot going on, but definitely feel free to stop in anytime. Share some stories, share some events that are going on in your life.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I love that.
Doing a lot.
Cool, man. Anything, how can people find you?
On Instagram, Four-Eyed Aaron.
Yeah, I remember that.
Four-Eyed_Aaron. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think we were talking outside. You potentially want to create something, whether it's a podcast or YouTube channel. Is that something in the future?
It's on the side plate, the appetizer plate, not on my.
Oh, I know.
It's not my plate.
You got lots of stuff moving for sure, but yeah.
And moving in general, to be more diverse. I'm trying to move out of the country and grow more.
That's right. Where are you trying to move to?
Kind of on the hush, but
on the hush, but trying to move anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, I know you've always wanted to go to Australia, so maybe Australia on the map.
That was one of them. Okay. Ireland, and Australia was one of them. Hopefully, I could pick up or perfect my other languages, German or Japanese.
Sure.
Right now, it's just gonna be English-speaking countries.
That's a little easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so as far as culture goes, has the art community and art background helped you with diversity?
Absolutely. For one, help understanding myself, and two, understanding my students.
Right. And when you say students, you're talking about dance or art?
Yeah, yeah, as an instructor, understanding students when I do workshops or whatnot, and it helped actually just meeting people outside when I traveled, just to travel. I've been to, numerous places, and just through art, understanding art, you tend to understand the reasons why you are who you are and why people do the things they do, and it's okay.
Right.
It's like you see someone that's weird, and you're like, why is he weird? Oh, that person's weird. But now you see them like, hey, that's kind of cool because you tend to appreciate their experiences and their background.
I totally feel you.
And it helps you understand who you are.
Sure.
And how you could relate to that, or not, but at least now that you're aware of who you are, what you like or don't like.
Right. Is there anything or anyone in particular that stands out, like a story or anything like that?
I'll say it as a gist. When I learned from art history, you might like Picasso and love Picasso, but then you might see Rothko and be like, hey, that's interesting. That's a whole different style. What about that is that I like? And then you tend to pull that into your influences.
Yeah.
So like dancing, I like style, I like footwork. But then you see my brother who does power, and I'm like, hey, that's okay. I'm kind of open to that now because now I could add that to my style and twist it, and now I can do power and footwork, or just like angles that he does, So you're open. You're going to be, the more you open yourself to it, the more diverse you become.
Oh yeah, I feel that. I guess I could think back to when we were kids again, and I'm listening to a lot of R&B. I'm listening to a lot of hip hop, and that's not necessarily music that you listen to. You introduced me to like the Smiths and Morrissey. Matter of fact, you'll be here in October, and so yeah, that was a real cool thing to add to my repertoire. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. My appreciation for music, for life.
And music says a lot too. You might be a hip hop person, and I'm all about hip hop. But what from hip hop does it come from? It could be rock samples, jazz samples, not even know it. Right. When you start listening to jazz, you're like, hey, this stuff's actually cool. So even music pulls a lot of diverse cultures. Different cultures.
Oh yeah, definitely. Someone, like you're saying, someone's like, oh, this hip hop is so sick, but it's derived from somewhere.
Absolutely.
That is so cool. Yeah, I didn't really piece that together, but yeah, music for sure.
And that's the beauty of hip hop, where it's come from different cultures. The diversity in hip hop itself, that's the beauty of hip hop.
Right.
It's not just pulling within hip hop, not just from the streets, because actually it does pull from the streets, but what's from the streets, you see people from around the world. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
So it's very diverse.
Yeah. I know breaking, b-boying, all came from the Bronx, from New York, and that diversity, it was crazy. Can you talk a little bit about that?
For my understanding, musically done in the 70s, you got to think there was disco. In New York, there was a lot of people that are Latin based, So they brought a lot of salsa, like that whole. Then you have like other people from the Bronx that are like African beats, or Jamaican beats. So you have like that funk, that soul funk, like James Brown. And then it came from like the times of like the 70s coming out from the 60s with the war. So it was kind of rock. So you could add this rock feel to like Congo beats. That fusion. So it brought a different feel of funk. So bringing those cultures for its times, politically, and the hardship of New York, when it was poor. So they pulled a lot of like, I guess diverse
cultures,
of all mediums.
Hip hop for sure is diversity,
yeah,
and it's purest. because you have the music, you have the people, you have people that are low income. You know what I mean? You have people that have struggled with possibly poverty and
definitely.
drugs. I mean, you hear it in the music. You know what I mean? Gangs, drugs, those kind of that potentially could be started a little. You start seeing it more so in the '80s and then even in the '90s, where hip hop kind of is transforming into something else. But that's what was so cool about hip hop. You could make it into whatever. And even now, like some people will say, it doesn't sound the same. Obviously, it doesn't. But that diversity made it into something what it is now.
Of course.
And there's appreciation there. A lot of fans. A lot of supply and demand. People want to hear it. So.
Oh yeah, I mean in the '70s you either had, when they had shows, the rappers was after the punk rock show, or the punk rock show was after the hip hop show. So you had those two just blending in together right there, and come out of that, like Freak Show.
Freak Show.
You had the
shout outs to Freak Show.
Yeah, I mean. We were the traditional hip hoppers. Then there was what is it? I want to say Cabbage Patch Kids. There was like a goth b-boys. You know what I mean? They're bringing the dark side of b-boy.
Yeah.
And now like you have like housers. They're bringing more of the poppy, like not poppy, but they're bringing so. Dance now is crazy because there's so much diversity into it, and they're just pulling from every avenues of different. Cultures, regions, backgrounds, and so it's all appreciated because it's all soulful.
So it's appreciated, but at some point, do you ever feel like it's washed out?
Absolutely. But that's its nature.
Yeah,
it has to be. Well, wait. What do you mean by washed out?
Washed out from maybe what wasn't original. So it originally started in this way, and now you see it this way. Do you appreciate it more on the original side, or do you see it more at the fusion side of where it is now?
Now I appreciate both sides.
Nice.
At first, you have to learn the foundation to appreciate the foundation, and you definitely grow from that. You can't just be this. And if everyone was that, then there's no growth.
Right.
So there has to be diversity, and then you learn to appreciate, I can't do that. Someone could do that, so. I appreciate someone being able to do that stuff.
Right. So, like a DJ appreciates all the where they start as far as their music goes, and their musicality starts at a certain place, and then once they get more advanced, they start appreciating maybe the music they hear, the sound effects, just because they know how hard it is. So, I would imagine a DJ could really appreciate from start to finish as far as. I don't know how hip hop has been, or whether it's techno, or whatever music they come from.
Absolutely, just feeling like when I started DJing, like I had to feel the crowd. If they just wanted like NWA, I'll play that. But you have that's simple. But if you have different people going in, they want to dance to this, want to dance to that. You got to fill them out, and you got to have such a spectrum of music. And you could say, "Oh, I'm a hip hop DJ," but if they want to hear rock, as a job as a DJ, play something that has maybe a rock feel,
Right? Yeah.
Hard feel.
As I've never been a DJ, but I have to imagine it's such a hard gig. You have to move the people. Music moves people, and if no one's on the dance floor, you're not moving people.
Yeah, you got to feel them, and they got to feel you. So, you got to understand them. You got to have diversity. You got to understand those people. It's not all about you. You could even have a hip-hop night. You could even have a rock night, but you never know who's walking through that door and want to dance to what. And they'll walk away, and you'll be like, well, I'm going to play whatever I want to play.
Right, it's not about you. That's right.
I mean, in my school of thought, there are DJs that would be like, it's hip-hop night, so I'm just only going to play hip-hop.
Right.
That's fine, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah, it's probably not the best thing to do as a DJ, especially as a paid DJ. You're really there to accommodate everyone that's in there. Like you're saying, notice who walks into the door. You might have some college kids that maybe don't know about some 70s breaks or something like that.
I mean, you can still keep it your theme. You have all the way to the left and you have all the way to the right. So anything in between, you could play.
Right.
You know, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You have any other stories potentially about diversity at this point?
I'm still growing. I'm still learning a lot of cultures, and not so much cultures as in like, countries' cultures, but like the new generation culture.
Yeah.
Texting, emojis. You know what I mean? Like
it's a whole nother language.
It's a whole different language, and all this whole new slang. So, I can't. I'm like a wannabe linguist, so I'm like, you have to be proper. But if those people can't express themselves articulately through their lexicon, of their vocabulary of like Urban Dictionary to like English Dictionary, how am I going to understand them? If that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
So I'm still learning in terms of diversity of generations.
Oh yeah, that could be a whole nother podcast in its own.
Absolutely.
I mean, shoot, we could have an 18-year-old kid, we have a 30-year-old, we could have a 40-year-old.
And I'm usually could adapt to like older people and really young kids.
Right.
I'm in my 40th century now. So. And I'm like, wow, I've really got to learn like, my little cousins and nieces and nephew. I'm like, oh, wow, I feel so distant from them, but hanging out with them, I'm like, okay, I'm understanding them now.
Catch up a little bit.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool,
Yeah, I guess it's like how I'm with my kids. Like, listen to music now. Like, I know what's new, probably because of them.
And our parents' generation, like, that's garbage. That's not music.
Oh yeah, I
What's
appreciate
rap? That's
everything.
not music. But like, you know what I mean? And nowadays I'm hearing like K-pop, and I'm like, that's not music. You can't dance to that. But then, if you start to think about it, pull it back,
appreciate
and like,
that.
That's actually like, okay, I have to accept that. Like it's not about me. It's all about being, if that makes sense.
And appreciate that artist.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Awesome. Well, I think we're wrapped. I think we have enough content. What do you think? You got anything else you want to share?
I have a lot. But,
all right,
we'll keep it as is.
We'll save it for the next one. All right. Well, we got an ending, so thank you for
pleasure being here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for being a part of the Amerikin Podcast, where our culture, or our diversity is our culture, and we're here at Picture Flicks. Thank you, Picture Flicks, for having us. Let us use your studio. See ya.